Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm super excited to have you guys here today. And I'm excited to talk about, how we as creative thinkers can actually finish what we start. So, obviously, if we're in business, finishing what we start is, kind of an essential part of business. And while finishing what we start can be challenging for anyone, when you're a creative thinker, it can feel almost impossible. So, if you're a creative thinker, you've probably had, an amazing idea. You're like, it's going to change the world. It's going to be awesome. And then by the time you get to the end, about to market it, if you miraculously make it to that point, you have lost steam and you're just bored of the whole idea. It's actually part of why it took me so long to start promoting the Selfie Challenge course. So I don't know who can relate. If you can relate, hang out with me, and I'm going to go over 3 things that can help you finish what you start and feel happy when you do. The first thing I want to talk about is self-acceptance. And, with full disclosure, starting to accept who I am and how I work is one of the most helpful things that I've ever done for myself in business. It's for this reason that I have started to strive for variety. I know it sounds cliche, maybe even a little bit simple, but you know what? If you don't accept yourself, if you don't accept how you work, you're probably forcing yourself to work in ways that go against what's natural for you, or even, work in ways that are making things harder for you, which is, the more things that, stand in our way, the harder it becomes to finish things, because, we're going to feel discouraged, we're going to feel overwhelmed. And, if we want to finish things, we kind of have to stay in that happy place, right? This whole idea of self-acceptance is something that I'm going to be going over in a lot more detail next month. So if this is something that you struggle with, make sure you tune in next month, because I'll be talking about that a lot. I also believe that it is one of the biggest problems that we have, like in our world, but definitely in business. So I really am making it my mission to, help people, start working in a way, start accepting themselves in the ways that I can, and the ways that my experience can help them do that. The second thing I want to talk about is batching. And batching is something that I brought up, I think last week, maybe the week before as well. But it's something that I wanted to talk about in a bit more detail and in a different way today. By batching things in a way that allow me to focus on things for an entire day at minimum, maybe even as much as a week, I win in 2 ways. The first is being able to avoid that cycle of distraction, getting started, not really finishing, starting something else, and then feeling like you almost have to start over again when you get back to that other thing that you didn't finish, right? So the mission with batching is to avoid that. By doing that, what you're doing is you're avoiding that period of time where you're getting in the mood, where you're getting inspired. Basically, you're just sitting there and you might be bored, but it's, not for too long. And it's that space of boredom that sparks creativity. Think about it. When we were kids, we didn't have all of the distractions that we do now, and we would be bored. And that's when we would be the most creative. And the other thing is that because I am, focused on variety, and I am only staying in one place for 1 week at the very, very most, I get to, when I am too bored, just knowing that I get to move on to something else makes me enjoy being in that space for the time that I'm in that space. And, again, that whole idea of being able to focus and get a lot done and just being positive is so incredibly helpful when it comes to momentum and, actually being able to accomplish things and get things done. And that brings me to the third thing, which is templates, prompts, and reusable process. Again, this is something that I have talked about in the past couple of weeks, but again, wanted to talk about it from a bit of a different perspective today. Basically, having something to start with, even if I know I'm going to have to tweak it, so much better than starting from scratch. As creative thinkers, we can feel like we're failing somehow if we're starting with something that isn't 100% ours. And also, since creating is something we love to do, it can be a bit of a bummer missing out on that, very early stage. But what I have found is that it's the exact opposite. It actually frees you up to have so much more fun and to be so much more creative. It also helps you finish things more quickly, which means, there's going to be a lot less bummers along the way. And, if you participated in the Facebook Funnel Kit training last week, that was partly the purpose of that, right? The purpose of that was to give you these templates and, the email prompts so that you have something to start with. And then you can just easily assign your own, stamp to it, your own creativity to it without having to worry about annoying things like, the size of the image and all of that other boring stuff. And it's also the purpose of the Fancy Funnel Kit, which I'm going to be launching next week, which is going to include the Facebook Funnel Kit, but also a bunch of other stuff that's going to make it easier and quicker to get your ideas out there and into a funnel so that, you can actually start selling them and move on to the next idea. Anyway, so that is it for today. Those three things: self-acceptance, batching, and, not starting from scratch, using templates, prompts, all of that stuff is amazing for helping you, finish what you actually start. And perhaps more importantly for us creative thinkers, getting to move on to the next thing ASAP. Anyways, until next time, have a great day and talk soon.